Okay, for this next exercise, we're going to be doing moving holds. So all that's going to consist of is having the ball shoot around the screen, but we don't ever want the ball to go to an absolute complete stop. It will at first, but once we get into the graph editor, it will not. So let's create a new composition, new composition. We're going to go to exercise 10. And 5 seconds should be a sufficient amount of time for this one. 1920 by 1080, 24 FPS, frames per second. 5 seconds. We're going to hit OK. And I'm going to create a small circle. And let's make this one blue. Okay, I'm going to grab the pan behind tool, but because I had just created the shape and still had it selected, it makes the anchor point disappear. So I'm just going to click off, click back on, and move the anchor point into the circle. Okay. So it doesn't really matter where you start. I'll just start it somewhere. I'm going to name this shape layer circle. I'm calling it circle rather than ball because it's not really going to be behaving to physics. It's just going to be moving around in an abstract manner. I'm going to go to transform, position, and let's have it start moving right away. There's not going to be any pauses in this animation. So let's try 6, or let's make it a little slower. How about 8? And then we're going to move it down. Oh. And let's have it just move in straight lines. And the idea isn't to constantly just keep it moving. We do want to have it hold, but or come to a kind of stop, but never completely stop. So that's a moving hold. It's not the same as just keeping it constantly moving. So actually, let's get rid of that. And let's just have it overshoot just a little bit. And then shoot. Move it a little bit. Shoot. Move it a little bit. Up. Oh, that's a little slow. Go. A little bit. Okay. A little bit. Shoot this way. Oops, not change the size. Move it a little bit. Shoot. Float a little bit. Come down. A little bit. And then shoot up. And hover a little bit. And that's probably good. So let's see how this looks. So it's coming to stops, kind of. But the stops are still moving. So that's a moving hold. So what we can do is go into the graph editor and let's break the X and Y coordinates. There we go. And so it shoots that way. Okay. Easy ease. And then let's go to the Y position and do the same. There we go. So it's going to slow down in the beginning and then shoot forward. Then it's going to overshoot. And then here, or actually ease out. Then we need to go into the X value and adjust it as well. There we go. So now it's going to have an ease out. And then slow down. We could potentially do that instead of having two keys close together for the easy ease. So we could take out the frame before and do that with the Y as well. We can actually have both showing if it makes it easier. Going here and here. That way. We just have to be a little careful because if one goes a little too much, it's just, if we're intending for it to go in straight lines, we just have to be careful that the X and Y have roughly the same amount of ease so that the line remains straight. There's the, there we go. That goes up. So we could do that here too. We could even delete these. Again, we just have to be careful that right now as I pull this handle out, it's curving down. And that's just because the X is going quicker than the Y is. We just pull this one out as well. And there we go. There we go. And I'm watching this line as I'm adjusting the handles. So it shoots. Let's see, does that look better or worse like that? No, it looks okay. And then that way there's a little bit more even, like the slowdown's a bit more even. And it still looks like a stop. But let's pull this handle out a little more. Okay. Okay, and then here, we can maybe get rid of this, and pull this handle out. So now it lingers. And then here, we can pull this one out, but let's also pull out the Y value to straighten the line. Okay, and then we can get rid of this one. Again, having the two keyframes back to back could work, or two keyframes that are close together to indicate a slowdown. That can work. The only thing is if you do it that way, the slowdown might seem more abrupt. So I'd sometimes be a little hesitant to do it that way. Okay. Okay. Here, that line straighter. Okay, break that tangent. Oops. Okay. And then grab this line and okay. Stick this and easy ease, easy ease. Let's pull this one out as well. There we go. And then as we move this way, pull this handle out, pull this handle out. Okay. And then here, we'll just delete, delete, Okay, so that's an arc, and we're not aiming for an arc. There we go. This one. There we go. Okay, and then here, get rid of this and get rid of this. Over here, add easy ease. So, comes up. Okay, and then easy ease. Get rid of these two. Easy ease in. Cool. Okay, so let's see how that looks. Okay, this one is a bit slow. Let's bring these keys a bit closer. Okay, let's see how that looks. And there we go. So we have a couple of stops, and it does slow down significantly, but it doesn't come to a complete stop. So originally it was done with having two keys close together that had slight changes. So it would reach its stop, and then you'd have another key that was a few frames later that was a slightly more extreme version of that key, whatever direction it was going. And sometimes in 2D frame-by-frame animation, that's what we do. We would have the stopped position, or whatever the position the character's getting into, and then another position that's the same idea but pushed, more exaggerated, that's several frames later, and then we would ease into it with in-between drawings. But in After Effects, you can do it that way, not really with in-between drawings, but having one keyframe and then another one a few frames later, that's a bit more dramatic, but still going in the same direction, but slowed down. And it works, but the speed change can look a little abrupt. It looked okay. But in here, we can go into the graph and optionally remove those extra keys and just make sure that the graph lingers in the near the stop position for a while, so it slows down significantly when it gets to those points. But it does increase the challenge of when you're dealing with the X and the Y values at the same time, as you adjust the positioning for the X, it does influence the Y, or doing just the X will sometimes cause what might be an unexpected result, because the X is going to get to certain places quicker than the Y if you've adjusted the X first or the Y first. And you'll need to adjust them together to make sure that the positionings are still working together instead of working opposed to each other. So that can be an issue that can come up when working with the graph. So either way works. The graph just tends to be a little bit smoother if done well. And that is creating moving holds.